Tell me some of the memories of living with the iconic Frankie Beverly.
It was special. We had great times living together. We lived together in Philly as well as in California and Oakland. We had ping pong tournaments with neighborhood cats that would come and challenge us. We played cards. Frank and I would just sit around and talk about things that we really wanted to do and our goals and where we would be heading. He couldn't cook, but I was a great cook, and there was another cat that cooked, and he loved liver and onions. So I always made a special time when we could afford it, because there was some hard times too. But one of his favorite meals, and it was my pleasure to fix it to him. He put a smile on his face, along with me making him laugh, because I never called him Frankie. It was always Frank to me. And I knew if I called him Frankie, and it wasn't me calling him that, it was just the way I would call Frankie! And I knew I'd get a laugh out of him. And it cracked him up every time. So, special time, we all lived together, but my time with him in Philly and in Oakland, it was really special, and I'll never forget it. He was great man, great leader, and loved his family, which was us. I mean, I'll never forget it. One of my most memorable and favorable times in my life, and the Maze journey as well. Living with Mr. B.
My funny story about Frankie Beverly really has nothing to do with me as much as it has to do with Rome, his longtime friend from 55 years. We would rehearse in Atlanta, Georgia, and one particular time we were taking a break, and we always would talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about football, we talk about boxing, which was one of Frankie's loves. He was a passionate fan of boxing, and all kinds of things. We talk about life and different philosophies. But anyway, this particular time, of course, we were talking about music, and we were talking. And Rome, many of you don't know this, but Rome originally played flute before he got in the band with Maze, before he even came up with the name Maze. So when he met Frankie, that's what he was doing. And we were talking about those old days, and Rome mentions the fact that, hey, I used to be a jazz head. I used to play flute. I used to be a jazz head. And Frankie looked up from his seat and he's like, yeah, man, but I don't remember you being that sweet. So, anyway, meaning, I don't know if you was that good, man. But anyway, it was funny. We all still to this day laugh at that. Rome included. It was so funny and was so off the cuff. But that's the man that Frankie was. He was such a funny cat, such a wonderful, giving, loving human being. And if you ever had the chance to be around him, as long as all of us had, you saw that and you felt that. So we miss the brother. But that's my funny story today. All right. Happy birthday, Frank. Love you, man.
So one of my funny Frankie stories is coming off stage one night. Frank would sometimes come into the band's dressing room, and he would let us know how good the show was, and blah, or some things we could improve on. And so this one particular night, he comes up to me and says, Cal, when I do this, what does that mean? And I said, well, Frank, I think it means to pick it up. Well, why don't you do it then? So all the guys, they just burst out in laughter. Even Frank had to chuckle. And so for me, that was one of my funniest Frankie moments.
Anybody that knows Frankie Beverly in a band situation knows that he's a stickler for perfection. Anybody that knows me knows I take pride in what I do and try to play as flawlessly as I can. When I first got with the band, I passed the audition and then we started doing shows. And I thought I was doing pretty good. But every now and then I'd see Frank look at me with a somewhat puzzled look. And I tried to figure out what that was, paid close attention. Then I started to realize he really did like what the other keyboard player, Carl, was playing. So I took note of Carl's approach and started making some changes. Soon after then, we had a rehearsal. Rehearsal came to a break. Frank comes over to me and says, "Hey man, you know, the stuff that you were playing that I didn't particularly care for, I don't hear anymore. You sound very good, and I'm proud of you that you took it upon yourself to make these changes. And as a result, I'm going to give you a bonus."
I had the privilege of touring with Frankie Beverly for approximately a year as Regina Bell's music director. And one of the things I remember the most about Frankie, of course, his performances were always off the chart and just amazing. But even when he wasn't on stage and he was just walking around, of course, he had that amazing swag. But one of the things I noticed about him that stood out was he was always smiling. It just always seemed like he was in such a good mood. And that's one of the things that I admired about him, in addition to his amazing talent, that he was just like a bundle of joy when he was walking around. Even when he was walking, he had like a pep in his step, even though he wasn't on stage and there was no music. I always thought that was amazing. So whenever I would see him walk by, and he would often acknowledge me, because we were on tour for about a year, so I got a chance to see him on a regular basis, and also along with Maze, the band as well. So that's one of the things that I remember the most about Frankie Beverly.
This is something I will never ever forget, y'all. The first time I had the opportunity to perform the Maze family, I was in Cancun. I was subbing a date for the previous keyboardist, and it was a good time. Oddly enough, I never got to meet Mr. Beverly. We never met. I learned the music, got on the plane, flew out, hung out for a couple of days, did the gig, all on stage together, never met. After the show, oddly enough, his security comes to me and says, hey man, Frank want to meet you. I said, oh, okay, cool. Thinking he's just going to say, hey, thanks for sitting in. Thanks for hanging with us, I go in his dressing room. Mr. Beverly's sitting on the couch with his Speedos on. And I'm like, yo, man, it's the first time we meeting. That's how you going to be? And they were like, no, that's what he do. He get off stage, he's sweating, he's just trying to cool off. I'm like, all right. It's weird, but okay. He said something to me that actually came to life. He said, I'm never, ever going to forget you. He said, I'm never going to forget you. A year and a half later or so, I get a phone call. He's on the phone and he says, hey, remember I told you I was never going to forget you? He said, if you want to be part of the band, all you got to do is say yes. It's a wonderful memory, and it was a great season of my life, and I'm grateful. Happy birthday.
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Frankie Calvin. Happy birthday to you.
Blow it out. Y'all, 1, 2, 3, blow it out.
All right. What did it whisper now? Yes, let's go. Let's go. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to